Greetings, ghouls. Welcome to Deadsville Horror Talk. I'm your host, Ronin James, and to my left, these two lovely ladies join me once again for another episode to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, the most popular movie out right now.
Apparently.
To my far left, my co-host, the lovely Steph Infection, as always.
Hey, Scream Hearts.
She, like me, is not familiar whatsoever with the video games and the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's.
No.
So we had to call in this lovely creature to my left, immediate left, Miss Maddy Meek, who is very familiar with the game and will be our resident expert on the lore and game Five Nights at Freddy's. Say hi.
Hi. I like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Maddie also brought in some Chuck E. Cheese
Yes, from my collection.
merch from her collection. You got some Chuckies in the corners. And
Yeah, we got some old school stuff. I'm a bit of a Chuck E. Cheese nerd for sure.
I love it.
We don't have any Five Nights at Freddy's merch to show off, but,
No.
you know, we're not really the Five Nights at Freddy's demographic, Steph Infection and I.
No, we're a little up there, I think. In the I didn't even know it was a game until after.
Until after? Really?
Until I turned it off and started yelling about it and Googled it, and then I was like, oh, it's a game. Okay, maybe I should give this another try.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, you're more out of touch than I am, Steph Infection.
I didn't even know. I had no idea.
I mean, I game, so I do know a little bit about games, current games, stuff like that. But Maddie played the game and was quite knowledgeable on the lore, and yeah.
I mean, I know a decent amount of things. I'm not like a total expert, but I have played the games, and they're super fun, and there's a lot of really exciting lore, and it goes a lot deeper than you might think. But we'll get into that later. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, before we get into it, a little bit about us. I'm Deadsville director Ronin James. I'm a professional stuntman for like 2 decades. I've been in a bunch of stuff. I direct stuff now. I do a lot of stuff. Content is key these days, so now we're making a lot of content, including producing this little podcast. And I also write and direct Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries for Dickie Devil and the Deviants and do their music videos. And I've got some shorts and a feature and a sitcom and all kinds of fun stuff in the works. Maddie's my puppeteer for Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries. She is the, not the voice, but the movements behind Doggy Deviant, while Kane Hodder is the voice. That's Jason Voorhees, the longest tenured Jason Voorhees. Kane Hodder is the voice of our puppet dog. And Miss Steph Infection, actress and producer on Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries, among other things. Pops up in the Deadsville lore as well.
Yeah. Wherever I'm needed.
What do we got next, Steph Infection? We got a music video on
We
deck.
got to know my goth for a music video we're going to be doing. Dickie Devil and Deviants,
Yes.
Choreographing that, so.
Also, stay tuned, as Dickie likes to say, because we're about to have the director and the writer, writer, director, and writer from Stalked, the horror movie that I was stunt coordinator on. They're going to join us later this week, I believe, is the plan.
For the next episode, yeah.
So the next episode is going to be an interview with the writer and writer-director behind horror movie Stalked. And I'll be interviewing them, and we'll talk some stunts, and maybe Maddie will jump in as well. She was there.
Yeah, I was there too. That was fun.
Maybe we can even get some Zoom in with Ricky at some point.
Yeah, I would love to hear what he has to say about everything. about.
But yeah, our writer and director will be in first, and they're going to talk about the process of making horror films. And this was their first big feature, so it's should be a good conversation that we have with those guys. Looking forward to it. So more on that soon. But today we are talking Five Nights at Freddy's, and we're going to do our first takes, which will include writer, director, cast, all that kind of stuff. And we'll give our spoiler-free impressions first. Yeah. Before we dig deeper and break out the shovels and get into some spoilery stuff. So, we'll give you a heads up before we kick into spoiler mode. In the meantime, though, first takes!
Yeah. That didn't get me.
I didn't get you. I can't always
No,
get you.
no.
No. Kind of like this movie didn't get me.
Yeah,
Or maybe I just didn't get it. Who knows? But first takes. Let's start over there with Steph Infection.
Oh, we doing that?
Well, yeah. We got to do our synopsis and all that. So you're going to read our synopsis, Steph Infection.
I'm like, you are jumping to the end of our first
Sorry.
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want me to give you the synopsis so we know what our first takes are even on?
Right,
So, yeah,
right. This
right?
is the long video game movie, long in development video game movie.
Yeah, it was postponed like way long ago. So we've been waiting a really long time for this movie.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It was on. They like stopped working on it for a while, and now it's finally out.
Oh yeah, so much so that they made a couple other movies that weren't Five Nights at Freddy's, but were actually
Yeah,
Five
other
Nights at
people-
Freddy's under different names. Like
The other people beat them too.
Willy's Wonderland?
Is that the same people?
it's Five Nights. No,
No,
it
it's
was
not the same people,
it
but
was
it's
like
the same
it was
concept.
people that were like, oh, that Five Nights at Freddy's movie got delayed. Fuck it, let's make a movie with our own
Okay.
animatronic killer.
And it was an awesome
killers.
movie
And
too.
it was, yeah.
It was fantastic.
You had that, and then you had what was the other one that they did? There was
I don't know if Banana Splits
Oh,
count.
Banana Splits. Yeah.
I didn't-
Banana
I didn't
Splits
watch
counts.
that one.
Yeah, because originally that was supposed to be Five Nights at Freddy's, and then they like lost the rights to using Five Nights at Freddy's, so they got the
Oh, so they
rights
just
to
used
Banana
Banana
Splits instead, and
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
reworked the script to
I
make
did
it.
not like that.
I
No,
heard it was
no,
really
I
bad,
wasn't a
so I
big
didn't
fan of
watch
it
it.
either,
My,
so.
my dad was like, it was awful. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
was terrible.
I'll
It was
just watch.
awful.
I'll just watch normal Banana Splits if I want to watch Banana Splits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was a 2023 PG-13 horror movie.
Which is very important to keep in mind with this.
Yes, it's very much a kid-friendly.
Surprisingly.
You know, I
Considering-
have gripes even with that. I felt
I
like
agree.
they could have done a lot more with that PG-13.
I agree. We're gonna get into that, and we could do that very shortly. But go ahead, Steph Infection, read that synopsis.
All right. A troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's.
Dun dun dun. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's that.
So I'm gonna blaze through this Wikipedia article here. Give us a little more background. Five Nights at Freddy's is a 2023 American supernatural horror film based on the video game series and franchise of the same name, created by Scott Cawthon. Scott
Cawthon, yeah.
Cawthon.
Yeah.
Directed by Emma Tammy, who co-wrote the screenplay with Cawthon and Seth Cuddleback. From a story by Cawthon, Chris Lee Hill, and Tyler McIntyre. The film stars Josh Hutcherson as a troubled security guard who accepts a nighttime job at an abandoned family entertainment center where he discovers its 4 animatronic mascots come alive and are prone to murder. Elizabeth Lail, Piper Rubio, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Matthew Lillard appear in supporting roles. Development of a Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation, as we were just saying, began in April 2015 with the involvement of Warner Brothers Pictures. Roy Lee, David Katzenberg, Seth Graham-Smith were set to produce. Gil Keenan announced as director and co-writer. After several production delays, the Warner Brothers version was no longer moving forward. Keenan dropped out of the project. March 2017, Jason Blum's Blumhouse Productions was announced as the new production company, with Chris Columbus set to direct and co-write. Columbus also ultimately left the project, and Emma Tammy was announced as his replacement. In October 2022, she was announced as his replacement in October 2022. Main cast confirmed December. Other cast additions were signed March 2023 with a budget of $20 million. Filming began in February 2023 in New Orleans. Ended that April. This was a total rush job.
Yeah. Which,
Five Nights at Freddy's was released on Peacock October 26, 2023. It was theatrically released in the United States the following day by Universal Pictures. Film received negative reviews from critics, while audience reception was generally positive and has grossed, I can't believe this,
I know.
$217 million worldwide.
Oh my god.
That's insane.
So,
That's crazy.
and the Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score was 88%, where the critic score was 29%.
It's
And I get, actually, now knowing more about the game and the background and seeing the movie a couple times, I'm like, I get that. Like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
People are just excited to see it just because of what it is, but it's not that
It's
bad.
not a good movie. Oh, we're gonna get there, but yeah, and this one just blew my mind. So they released this the day before streaming, and then they went to the theater and still did 217 million worldwide, even though it was free to watch on Peacock.
So a little like trivia, they said they made all their money back from production before it even was released, just from selling for streaming.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
I
sure.
believe it.
They made it all their money.
And then
budget money back.
theatrically, it was the fourth highest grossing horror movie opening weekend of all time.
Yes.
Of all time. That is insane. Of all time. That's
And
the
we li-
fourth.
Yeah.
And it was streaming. You could watch
That's
it
what I
on
mean. We
That's
live-
insane
And
to
we
me.
live in a society where nobody likes to go
Nobody
to the
goes
theaters
out.
anymore.
Nobody likes to go out. Nobody goes anywhere anymore. And somehow this fucking movie, Man.
See, I believe it because, you know, the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom is enormous. It's huge. There's so many people who are like super fans for this movie. So considering that we've all been waiting so long for this movie, I'm really not surprised. There's a lot of really, really big fans out there.
I get it. And this is, I mean, I guess my son, I guess, played this a little bit. I never really played it. I never
we
played
should
the game.
play. We should all play.
It's like a point and
I will
click,
watch
which
you
I
guys
totally
play.
don't do.
I will just sit
I
there
don't
and
do
I will
those
watch.
point and click games. They're too slow for me. I
You
can't.
can play it like on like a tablet. You can download it on your phone if you
Oh my
wanted
God.
to.
I don't know.
You can watch me play.
Yeah, that's probably more my speed. I'll watch. Well, you said there's a
watch
new
me
one with like an
play.
open world where you
Yeah,
can
you can walk around and there's a whole story
like,
to it. And
yeah, there's actually like
I'll
action.
walk around a little.
I don't like
game.
point and click stuff. I don't do
Oh,
the
then you're
old
gonna
point
hate
and
it.
click
You're
stuff.
gonna hate it.
No, I
Yeah.
hate it. Exactly.
But I can
So-
understand people said like where they got that. I mean, it doesn't compare to the numbers of Barbie, but just how that's like people want to go see something that they're familiar with and they're excited. Like if you're a fan, so like we were listening to a podcast and so they said that there was a lot of fans like calling out stuff and
Oh, yeah,
teens and tweens and people were dressing up to go to the theater. Like
Oh, yeah.
that's where just I get that. I get that whole scene and why it kind of made the money that it did. But I'm wondering if they're all as disappointed as I was. Probably not. Probably not.
Probably
I feel like
not.
the younger kids probably wouldn't care as much,
Yeah.
but I feel like
most of them don't care.
And I
This
get
is-
that.
Yeah.
I can actually appreciate it more now. Kind of like reading into it more. But we'll get into everything.
Yeah. We skipped our call to action, so real quick, make sure that you subscribe, like, follow, all that fun stuff. Hit the bell if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on Spotify and Rumble,
Rumble.
and anywhere else that you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Or you or watching us. I don't know where else we're going to branch out to, but yeah, make sure you do all the things. And
All
if
the
you want to
things.
email us with your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's,
At deadsvillehardtalk@gmail.com. Subject mailbag.
there you go.
Yeah.
So-
Send us a little something, something.
Yes.
Yeah, we got nothing.
All right, so let's get to the writers first, because
All right.
I'm not going to get to the
Yes.
director just
Yeah.
yet. I don't have as much to hate on her. I mean, even though she did write this thing. So Scott Cawthon, obviously, he's the game developer. He's the one that came up with the lore and is responsible for the whole universe of Five Nights at Freddy's. So obviously that's his writing portion to this. You had Seth Cuddeback and Emma Tammy, who... do I even want to look at their other writing credits, man?
You pick one.
I'll take Seth.
I'll take Emma.
All right. What else has Seth written?
Oh.
Mateo, Kelp, Short, The Best and Worst Days of Joy. Right, he's got 6 rating credits. Jesus. Short.
Yeah, I don't see anything worth mentioning, the Left Right Game podcast series. I guess that's where wasn't that the director was, that was their podcast, so maybe they're friends? I don't know.
I don't know.
Nobody worth talking about.
Nobody worth. No, this is I mean, this is like, to me. Let's discuss the writing real quick because that's one of my big issues. There's just too much of it. There's just too much
in the wrong areas.
Convoluted bullshit in this movie. Like, just diving right in, we're going to attack these fucking writers, and I guarantee you that Scott Cawthon had nothing to do with the shit that we hate about this fucking movie.
Yeah, because considering, like, he's the guy that's written all the lore. Like, if you see, like, what he's written, it is so different from the way that the movie's written. I feel like he really didn't have a lot to do with it just by watching the movie and knowing about, like, how he writes things. I really don't know how much he wrote in this movie.
Well, now, and I don't know, and I didn't play the game. I don't know as much about the lore, but from what you've told me, this feels like these two people, Emma Tammy and Seth Cuddeback, just did the Hollywoodization treatment to his
concept
creation. That's all they did.
They made a separate movie and they just slapped Five Nights at Freddy's in there, and
we've got trauma, and we've got the kid, and we've got like the single parent kind of situation. And
part of that didn't bother me like I thought it would, but it was all the additional writing around it, like.
Well, to me, it was the again, we had this unnecessary trauma. Like, it
like
just made everything too coincidental and just too, like.
Yeah. It's like it was
forced.
Relevant. Like, at the end of the movie, you realize that the whole situation.
It's relevant, sure.
It's relevant, but it's not necessary.
But not really.
No, exactly. It's not necessary.
Yeah, not really.
It's really, it has nothing to really bring to the table.
Lean in a little closer. Okay. Because you're not even registering on
I'm like
our
sitting
mics
back.
here. Yeah, you gotta project
I will do my
onto
best.
these mics so we can hear you. There's a lot of convoluted writing in here. There's a lot of unnecessary exposition, and again, without getting into spoilers, there's just a lot of extra stuff in here that I felt like they didn't need to do. You could have just had like where Willy's Wonderland succeeded was like, okay, here's the setup.
He's not even talking, really.
Not even that. And that movie had its own issues, but it was like, dude is like, he's the security guard at this place, and the things come alive, and he's got to fight them. There's your movie.
Yeah, and that movie was very, like,
action-oriented.
And it was all about the action and the violence and just Nicolas Cage doing Nicolas Cage things.
Right, which was a different direction than the game. Obviously, the game wasn't as violent, from what I understand. It's more jump scare oriented.
Yeah, it's not really about like gore or anything like that. It really is about like survival, and it's about them it's about jump scares more than anything. It's not about violence necessarily. Like, the violence is more imagined than anything. You kind of imagine what the animatronics are going to do to you, even though
it's not
like you kind of know already, but like you can. There's room for imagination with the games.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So just because we're talking about writing, where I will say I get that they couldn't go in the direction of like Willy's Wonderland or whatever that was. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Willy's Wonderland. Because it's all just like fighting and stuff. So they want this to be a franchise. They want to do many movies with this. They have a younger audience. They need them to have somebody that they kind of care about, like a hero in the movie. So I get you have to write a story. You have to have kind of an adult and a kid and get that backstory so you can keep traveling forward.
Right.
I get that. Where this fell is that certain areas of the background, they showed it 900 times.
Oh, it was awful.
And I was like, we get it. We got it.
Awful.
You could have done it twice.
The amount of hand-holding in this movie and, exposition and just,
too much.
And like there was a lot of time spent in dream sequences. And I'm like, aren't we watching a movie about animatronic robots killing people or, like, scaring people at least? Why am I getting all of this this other peripheral stuff. And at the end of the day, it actually, like, I felt like it, all of that, that was all, that's what, again, this was the Hollywood created trauma that everybody's got to have in their movies nowadays. And they spent so much time on that it took away from everything else that the movie was supposed to be trying to do.
Yeah.
Like, for me, at least, like, I'm trying to get, you know, like you said, even if it's just survival horror that's going on, like, okay, then put us in the fucking pizza joint and give us some survival horror. Stuff, like, I don't want to get, it's so hard to do this without getting into spoilers, but this motherfucker spends so much time sleeping in this movie.
I know.
I'm like, holy shit, he's going to sleep again? We're gonna sleep again. I'd be mad. Like I get. Believe me. Look. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna get off of that because we're gonna save that for the fucking digging deeper. I'm giving away.
Okay.
Yeah. My bottom line on this is.
Give me your actual wrap up.
Yeah. Let's wrap up the first take here.
So I can get mine.
I get that this is PG-13. I get that their target audience was a very younger demographic, and I get that. I'm definitely not their demographic, but that this is going to hit differently for somebody that played the video game. And there's so many people that played the video game, obviously that is what is going to, that's what carried this movie. Because the movie on itself sucks. It's so boring. It makes no sense. There's just it's so poorly written, so poorly paced. I don't even know if this person can direct or not because I couldn't even stay awake through the damn thing half the time.
No, it took me 3
It took me a couple watches to finish it.
Finish once.
And then I had to go back and watch it again. And honestly, and I'm coming to it as a person that's never played the game, but I know that there's the game and all this lore, and I know these are characters that people love. So I was interested to see it. But sitting there watching the movie, I was bored as hell. I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. I can't believe this is what they did with this movie. But you know what? Looking at how this was, like this fucking thing said, like the Wikipedia said, like it was filmed at the beginning of this year in like 2 months and slapped the fuck together just to get it out. So it feels so rushed and shitty.
Maybe the future ones might be a little bit better.
Well, now that it made all this money and it's a viable franchise, you know, the studio is going to be like, I mean, Jason Blum is probably laughing his way. You know, this is a Blumhouse project.
I'm give or take with Blumhouse in general, but
right. And it's a crap movie, but he's laughing his way to the bank right now because this thing is reaping it in at the box office, and it's a terrible movie. And he probably made this thing for like shit money, other than just getting the rights to it. That was probably the most expensive thing. That's why you get a director that has only directed one other fucking thing, and that's why you get these people to write it, because they don't have to pay him anything. These are bottom of the barrel people, and they hope they know that this franchise is going to carry itself with just the name on its own. The name is going to bring people in, so they don't have to put a good product out. You know, that's what I feel like.
Budget was $20 million.
Yeah, so that's pretty low, I guess, by standards.
It is, and
modern movies.
Well, yeah, because there's only a couple locations in this. The animatronics were great, but that was
love
Jim
the
Henson
animatronics
company, so they probably spent most of their money with that. Honestly,
right? That's where most of the budget
went. Most of the
because
budget
they didn't
went,
pay
and the puppeteers because they had like 6 people on one of them.
And Josh Hutcherson's a real actor. I mean, he's good. You recognize him. We didn't really talk about him much, but
he's not big money.
He's not big money, but he was like a co-star of the Hunger Games. That's where you recognize him from. And then if you watch a show on Hulu, called Future Man.
Future Man, yeah.
Oh, hilarious!
So good.
Future Man was so good.
It
years
ended
ago,
in
but
2020.
Yeah, it was such a great,
I think we binged that when COVID started. We were like,
we were binging it during COVID.
Yeah.
It was great. And he was great. He's a really funny actor, and he's a really good actor. And he does a good job in this. The acting in it is good enough, but it's just so bad.
I think the acting is what kept me.
Such a rottenly written movie.
So I'll just say, like, my first take, obviously I agree. I did not realize it was a game. I kept hearing and seeing people on social media saying, Five Nights at Freddy's coming out. I don't pay attention half the time. I'm like, okay, it's a new movie coming out, but I had no idea that it was a game, nothing. You had texted me and said, watch it. We were going to do the podcast. And there's a stream of very angry texts from me where I was getting I was getting like angry watching this and like by myself, and I was like, we're not doing an episode. Why are we doing an episode on this? Oh, it's a game. All right, fine, it's a game. And I was like, oh, this is awful. This is awful. I had to shut it off halfway through. I came back like 2 days later, like I needed a break, finished it, and then it was fine. And then when I kind of did a little bit more research on the game, just like loose research, and talked to Maddy, I had more of like an appreciation for some things in it, where I probably wouldn't have been so hard on the movie in general. But it's funny, we were listening to a podcast earlier, and the guy said the same thing. He goes, I would have been very angry if I watched this by myself. And I was like, thank God I'm not the only one
Right.
that knew, like, was so angry. So overall, if you are like a fan, like if you want to go see this and you're going to shut us off before we dig deeper and get into all the spoilers, I don't know if it'll really matter, but
if you're a fan
you're
of the
a
game,
fan of
like,
the game.
like this, and Maddy, we'll read your first take it next, but to me, this movie is just fan service. That's all it is.
Yeah, so if
it's
you're a
just
fan of the
giant
game,
fan
see
service
it.
movie.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's free.
If you're a fan of the movie, you're gonna love it because it's gonna just have little cameos and it's got like YouTube celebrities, YouTube personalities who have
Apparently.
cameos in it and stuff, and
Yeah.
and it's got little Easter eggs from the game and little cameo from one of the little characters and everything in it. And if you're a fan and you get all that's your. Then you'll fan service it up. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be hooting and hollering. You'll be like, "Woo, yeah! Look, it's so and so, and yeah." But if you actually want a good movie with a story that you can follow and characters you can care about and people that don't make dumb decisions, well, you probably want to pass on this one.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't give a shit, and it's PG-13, it would probably be a decent gateway movie for kids to kind of
So-
get into horror because it's not very bloody. There's no blood in it at
There was
all.
a
Maybe.
little bit of blood.
There was a little bit.
Very
but-
little.
It was very
I
little.
feel like they
But it's
went
very
really
dark.
bad in some for PG-13. I was like,
Well, it's very dark with the whole
it's
child
really
abduction
dark.
stuff. It's very
and I
dark.
was like, holy crap! Like that's
so they like
bad.
Like
Like-
I feel like younger kids, and I also feel like it would be very boring to younger kids. Like you're not going to get 10-year-old and down. I think you're
my
really
kid would have shut that off.
right.
in a
That's so I
second.
feel like it's a
Yeah.
very specific like in that 25.
Being a
50,
fan, yeah.
30-ish range where
I
you
think it
grew up
would be
playing
better
the game.
for tweens, if anything.
yeah.
Like kids who are like 12 years old.
That's
and, like,
what they
older.
said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like actual 13, PG-13.
It's a tween movie.
It's a tween movie. It makes sense. Yeah, I think if you played the game, that's why after when I read, I was like, oh, I actually appreciate it more. I hated it, but like, let me get that. Like, I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
But once I watched it again, I was like, oh, I can appreciate a lot of that just because, just
Well,
like
because
I
it's
said,
fan
watching-
service and you recognize that they are paying
played a
homage to
game,
the
I would
game.
just be excited no matter if it was a crappy movie or not, just that I was seeing some of my favorite characters. So I get that. I've gotten like that with, like the Haunted Mansion and stuff, and just, that was a great
Right,
movie, written well, but, just in general, you get excited when you see things that that aren't typically on the big screen, and something that is close to your childhood. It has that nostalgia,
No, I said the
behind it.
same thing when I was growing up. I was a huge comic book nerd, and I'll go back now and I'll watch like those old. They had these old Spider-Man live action and the Hulk live action and the Batman and Robin live action, Adam West and all that stuff.
I used to watch that
And
one.
it's terrible. It's terrible stuff, but I loved it, and I still love it to this day. But it's probably written better than this is. At least we had characters and development and all that. But it's very campy and cheesy, and I could, But because I love those characters, that was the only place like you could see your superheroes in live action in the real world was on these terrible, electric company. That this show was called the Electric Company, and it was like a kids. It was like would come on after Sesame Street, and it had like a Spider-Man segment where it had a live action Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I would live for that because I fucking loved comic books and
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and that was the only time we would get
And
to
there
see.
was nothing. It was
there
like once
nothing
a
else,
week,
so-
like one time,
Yep.
and then you couldn't see it again. So, like, me and all my cousins, we would go around Saturday morning and, like, be at one person's house just to, like, watch something,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. But
that was-
so that was our fan service for us. Now, That was our first takes from two people that never played the video game.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get the first take from the expert. The person who actually played the video game, knows and follows the lore, loves the lore, appreciates the work of Mr. Scott Cawthon, and you know, will be our deep diver. But let's get your spoiler-free first take.
All right.
Lean in and loud on
all
that
right.
microphone.
So, I think the writing was really, really bad. And the
told
pacing,
us.
like both of you were saying, the pacing and the writing were awful. It was terrible. And see, I feel like with whether you like Five Nights at Freddy's or not, if you have a poorly written movie, it's going to be bad no matter what. I feel like, yes, there's a lot to appreciate, and they have little Easter eggs here and there for people who are fans of the games, but overall, I just... It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. I have a lot of issues with it. I have a lot of problems. I felt like it was just like they wrote like a first draft and just like went with it. And it's been proven here after you're reading the Wikipedia page that yes, they totally rushed it, and you can absolutely tell. And that just
it's a total rush job.
We've been waiting so long for this movie, and I'm really disappointed. I just felt like.
Do you feel like because they rushed it now that it made money, like we were kind of getting into that? The next few. Will
I mean,
be a little
maybe.
bit
Hopefully,
better,
they have. You know, they'll
bigger budget, better.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully that's what you would hope that they
probably just were putting it out there, see if it's stuck, and then.
Well, yeah. Now that it made money, they should say, okay, this is a moneymaker. Let's get an actual decent writer and pay a good director to come in. I mean, and it's a shame. Like Matthew Lillard felt like a waste in this thing. Like he was in it, but it was like
he played an important character, a very important character. However, I just felt like the way that everything was executed with him and the way that everything tied together was just like you were saying, it was too convenient for all of the way that the story went.
Yeah.
And like even with the things that we found irrelevant that do actually make sense later on, it was just so there wasn't enough going on inside the actual place. There was so much going on in this guy's dreams, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's just that has nothing to do with the games. That
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the games.
right. That whole part of it, the whole Josh Hutcherson's whole character with his sister and the.
We're not getting into spoilers.
No. But he has this whole backstory that has nothing to do with the game, and they just spend so much time. There's so much time devoted to this.
And I feel like I understand character development. I understand you're establishing something that you can connect to the character to and like maybe feel sympathy for them or whatever, and feel connected to the character. That's what you do to make a good character and want to root for them. However, I felt like with the way that this was written, I don't care about this main character at all. I don't care at all. And it's just
because they kept doing it over and over again. Like, okay, like when you're going to do characterization, the guy has an arc and he's got to kind of like progress. But this guy was just sitting in a rut the whole time. He's just sitting down here and just like, oh, sleep, dream, sleep.
But even the
dream.
backstory, it didn't make me care about him more. Like,
No, because that's all they gave you. They didn't give you anything else. There was no other character development besides that, the trauma of his life, and that's it.
And there was too much of that and not enough Five Nights at Freddy's. There was too much character development to where you spend most of the movie establishing a character's backstory that really doesn't matter, and there's not enough time spent in reality. And that was a huge issue, and that's why I fell asleep. I was just like, all right, this guy's going to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep too because this is awful. This is a horrible movie.
I think that's why I go to fall asleep. He kept going to sleep in the movie. I'm like, hey, that's a good idea.
Act 1 was like pretty good, and then Act 2, I was like, he's just sleeping the whole time. Like, that's it. So I turned it off and got very angry.
And by Act 3, they had lost me, and I was just like, all right, come on, just get this over with. God,
and they kind of did.
None of this doesn't even make any sense anymore. Oh God!
All right.
Yeah.
We gotta dig.
So would you recommend Five Nights at Freddy's? Steph Infection.
All right.
Would you recommend it?
I would only recommend watching it if you care and you played the game and you have any type of if you care about the game at all, or if you know the characters. It's free. Maybe give it a watch, but no, I won't actually recommend this. I can't respect myself and recommend it. So I'll say it's okay to watch if you really like the game, just to see what we're talking about. But I can't recommend it. Nope.
Well,
Nope.
Maddie?
I am on your side with this. If you actually like Five Nights at Freddy's, I would say watch it, absolutely, because there will be things that you appreciate about it. But overall, you're not going to get a good movie. So just if you're a fan and you're going to watch it, don't expect it to be an amazing movie. Just watch it because you like Five Nights at Freddy's. Don't watch it because you want to watch a good movie.
And hope maybe we'll get a good one after Five Nights at Freddy too.
I hope so. I have high hopes for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Shit.
You have to question this?
Well, because the fucking. The puppets are awesome. The animatronics are really good.
Go watch Act 1 and then turn it off.
Yeah, I really like them. And Matthew Lillard, while he wasn't on screen much, he was good.
He did it.
Good.
See, that's the thing with Matthew
overall,
Lillard.
But it made me mad and bored and tired, and was just like, what is going on? And yeah, I mean, I'm just sick of seeing these shit movies with these first time or like no experienced directors just pandering to Hollywood's latest trend of fucking everybody's got trauma and it all ties us all together. How about just a security guard's got to go to a creepy old fucking pizza place and the robots are killing people? I mean, that's a perfectly good movie right there, man. You don't need all this other shit. So yeah, I can't recommend it. Even as fuck, man. The problem is, if the next one's really good,
you're gonna have to
you've got to go
this.
watch this fucking stupid movie. Probably.
That's why I'm saying I probably am. I'm out at this point because I really could care less about the. I'm out. But if you are a fan of the game, like, watch this one.
Like, if the next one's awesome and it's got, like, even more robots and they're actually, like, killing... It's probably still going to be PG-13, though. They're not going to make it R, which is going to be a gripe.
They're going to have more time to spend on it, though, because, like, we had so many issues with this movie coming out. It was just inevitable for it to be a crappy movie because people dropped out, they rushed it, all these problems. So, like, if they actually sat down and actually, like... Spent more time on it, I feel like you could get a really, really cool movie. So I'm really hoping that the second one is better.
I'll take it back. Maybe I'm not out, but I'm not thrilled about. I might watch the next one, but then I might be out. But in all seriousness, like, if we didn't have a podcast talking about movies, I'm out. like I'm not going out of my way to watch the second one. I could care less.
Yeah.
Because animatronics killing or not, like, I just don't know the characters. I don't know anything. I wouldn't appreciate it as much, even if it was a good movie.
Yeah, but we don't know the characters in Willy's Wonderland either, yet it was an enjoyable movie because we all know Chuck E. Cheese, and that's your
But it was just crazy.
tie-in.
But
yeah, but this is too much talk.
No, I get you, but this is a little different because it's very
specific.
right. There's very specific Easter eggs,
And I feel like you do have to know a little bit about it to have any kind of appreciation about it. You have because there are things that like there are references that like aren't established. Like if you didn't know what they were talking about, you just don't know. I feel like if you're not a fan at all, I feel like at that point, there's nothing to appreciate.
I would be out at this point
because it's a bad movie. Otherwise,
no, exactly. We sat there and you would call out certain things while we were watching it, and I would be like, okay, I'm glad that you're here because I had no idea.
As I'm angrily texting you,
because I didn't know that was
off now.
I'm like, I didn't know that was supposed to be a special thing. Apparently that's a thing that I should know, but apparently like.
Well, I'll say this just because we brought up Willy's Wonderland. If it wasn't Nick Cage and it was some other actor, no, I would not have liked that movie as much. That's a fact. I would have hated it probably.
He made that movie great.
He made it because it's angry, crazy Nick Cage. Like if it was just like if it was this guy in there, like
watch
beating
Josh
him up,
Hutcherson smash
I'd be
robots?
like, no, I would have thought that movie within like I appreciate it because it was Nick Cage like killing animatronics.
and he didn't say a word the whole movie.
And he didn't talk. But so if somebody else, if you plopped anyone, like I can't even think of anybody else that I would have liked in that role other than him that would have made it work. Like, I know. You got to really think.
Good call. I don't know.
So I don't think I would have,
All right.
So it's not similar. It's Nick Cage. You
All right,
can't-
fine.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. That's the end of
All
our
right.
first takes. We're not really recommending this one, but if you really love
If you played
Five
the
Nights
game,
at Freddy's and you're interested in it, you can watch it. I
it's
guess.
free. Like, it's free. So if you're bored and you like the game, yeah, go
You
watch
could even
it.
just watch it just for the animatronics themselves because they're really wonderfully done.
Oh,
They did a really great
I
job. They're
love
super
them.
accurate. Like, I that's what really made me want to go back and like continue watching it because
Yeah,
They're
they were good.
just- they're
the light
really-
up eyes were creepy. Like,
and they're
really
accurate to
good.
the game too. They're completely like 100%. They look exactly like they do in the first game.
nice.
Yeah, so that part was very refreshing, not using like CGI and everything, and actually
Yeah.
having
Like it was people in costume.
people,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, there's like all these different things that they went through, and because it was a little bit difficult to have them move and do things, so I can appreciate that. I appreciate the movie more little things that I've read, but yeah, it
Gotcha.
sucked.
All right, well, that's going to do it for first takes.